Welcome guys to Dogs of War YouTube channel. Today we got review of the Valley Corp side, part 2. Want to start it off?
Sure. First up we have Brain Taping Warehouse, not tapping as I originally thought it was. This is a 1 cost asset. It is a facility. It's 4 to trash and 1 influence, which is really weird because I don't think you'd ever play this outside of HB. And it says the res cost of Bioroid Ice is lowered by 1 for each unspent click the runner has. So
Holy F.
this card's amazing. You know what makes this card even more amazing? When you have all 3 of them in play. This is really cool because if you can see one of these on turn 1 and you're playing, and you've committed at least somewhat to playing with Bioroid Ice, which you have to do if you're playing HB anyways. I mean, as long as you're not playing next, you won't run this in the next deck. This becomes just so good.
It's free money every time.
Free money.
Every time the runner makes a run, you're probably going to get free money out of it.
And you know, you stick a piece of ice in front of this. It doesn't have to be a good piece of ice. Just stick any piece of ice, freaking ice wall in front of it. And a lot of people are going to struggle justifying the cost in their heads to run this and trash it, even though it's making more money throughout the game, and they should trash it, right? And that's the crazy part about it. Of course, the downside being is it's not real money, so you still have to have the rest of the credits to res the piece of ice.
But it's money. If there's no minimum 1 on this either, which is amazing. That you can actually get things for free.
You could. It's a really good card. I like how it screws with the runner making the decision when he's going to make his run. Because normally you want to run early to have clicks to be able to break the ice, but now, well, you're giving me the clicks I need to res the ice. And
so now it pushes them into the quandary of do they run late in the turn and have the, not have the clicks to break through your ice, or do they run early in the turn, have the clicks, but then you get to res your ice basically for free.
And as we all know, there is a big push right now on the runner side of the community where people are working on decks to try to figure out how many clicks can I get in a single turn to take advantage of them. Haley's coming out in the next pack. She's probably about the most click-efficient runner we've ever seen, and her support for doing it as well is just bonkers amazing. There's no reason why she doesn't get 7 clicks in a regular turn, and she'll use 4 of those probably to make runs because the first 3 are going to be her setup. And if that's the case, then as a Haley player, you look at this and you go, well, damn, like
I don't want to do all my tricks.
Yeah, I have all these extra clicks, but if I run, then I get screwed. So it's a very good card. I think you see this go into every HB deck. I think it's at least a 2 of, if not a 3. I can't say enough good things about it.
The 4 res cost is just like
the 1 res cost.
Sorry, the 1 res cost, the 4 trash cost,
just phenomenal.
Screams good numbers.
Yeah, and I think it just makes Bioroid take away their weakness. The weakness is their click, or they could break them, which you can still do it, but if you do, it makes me not pay that much for them. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Next Gold. This is the one we've been waiting for the next players. This is an 8 cost to res, strength 4 sentry. It has the keywords Next, AP, and Destroyer, and it has the following text. X is the number of resed next ice. And it has 2 subroutines. That one says do X net damage, and the other one says trash X programs. So basically, it's just
read the quote. Read the quote.
Yes, God in Heinlein. What's next? Next platinum.
Yes.
John Masnori.
Next platinum.
So
there's a question mark. So
yeah, as in what? As in what's next? Yeah, what are you gonna run into next? I think platinum probably is the mythic for.
It probably will be.
Go that direction. This piece of ice is amazing. This is going to kill people.
Yes. I did it last night, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure you have. Like we were talking about last time, this card single-handedly means you need 3 corporate troubleshooters in your next deck now.
Yeah, if you're going to commit to playing with this now, you just corporate troubleshooter.
You just want once you've got 4 other pieces of next ice or 5 other pieces of next ice up, this is lethal.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about this is that
the second subroutine is just if it ever actually triggers. For like more than 2, the runner is probably out of the game.
Yeah, the cool thing about this is that with playing Foundry, which is normally when you play next ice, the moment you res the first one, I'm going to go get my second one. Now I'm going to install it over here. You want to run on 2 servers now that have these sitting in front of them? Oh, I didn't kill you with the second one? I'll go get the third one. Now there's 3 servers with these sitting there. You really want to make runs now with those corporate troubleshooters sitting down there?
Saw a piece of tech that's almost as good with that. Running the twins.
Yep, the twins. Force them to hit it again.
Yeah.
Yep. It's really good. And actually, the strength boost from Corporate Troubleshooter persists through the Twins effect. Yep. So, all right, I'm going to make this strength 12. Okay, I have enough credits to break it so I don't die. Have a Twins.
Yeah, do it again.
Do it again.
So even though it's a different card...
it's not. Actually, the Twins says that they encounter that piece of ice.
Yeah, they re-encounter that piece of ice.
Yeah.
And Corporate Troubleshooter buffs the strength of the ice until the end of the run.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of really cool stuff. People will die from this. I mean, even if you res it early in the game when it's on a flat line, like if you can't break this, you're gonna trash your programs.
Yep.
I mean, that's just
You're
fantastic
losing
as
whatever
well.
programs you had.
Yeah. Or waste your fairies on this. That way, my architects fire. I'm cool with that too. I mean, that's just as good.
Yeah, it's a great card.
I think this is it's fantastic for the deck it goes into. It's absolutely useless in anything else, but it's very niche and awesome in that niche.
Worst case is you res every single piece of next ice and Mother Goddess. Every piece of ice is now +10. That's insane. I have a 10 subroutine barrier. I have a 10 strength code gate, and I've got 10 net damage, trash 10
damage,
program.
trash 10 program.
That's just awesome.
Good. God in Heinlein.
God.
Is Rainbow, is that considered next ice?
No.
It just changes the Sentry.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just treated as the basic
Yeah, it's
subtypes.
Mother Goddess is the one that
Mother
pulls every keyword for every piece of ice.
Okay, I got first gen techie of the pack, generic resequencing. It's three advanced, one agenda point. It's an agenda research. When you score generic resequencing, you may place one agenda counter on agenda in your score area. This is in the perfect faction. It's the faction. I think it might be the faction that has the most agendas on a.
Is it the only faction I'm okay seeing it in?
No, HB has a lot more interaction with counters if you can score out the agendas. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say Wayland.
Okay.
But nonetheless, yes, a lot of factions.
House of Knives, Brain
This
Trust.
is the only one I'm okay with having this faction.
Hey, have another
faction.
Astroscript.
Yeah, that's a problem. Have another fracking counter.
Yeah.
Have another free Atlas counter.
Yep.
Have a free Vitruvius counter. No, this can stay in Jinteki.
Another efficiency committee counter. Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's good.
I mean, it's just
There's
there's
you'll see play, but
it's another 1/3. More 1-point agendas. Eat more damage. Here.
I don't know if it's better than some of the generic or the neutral 1-point agendas that Jinteki runs, but it's not
but
bad.
usually the Genteki runs the 3-1 that gets some money, the 2
Well,
clicks.
that, and then the one that
Gila.
touches 2 clicks as well.
False lead. I mean, you generally a lot of people right now are running at least one copy of Chronos Project.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. So
Alright.
the 3-1s have a lot of competition for that slot.
Yes. that's
But hey, you know
awesome.
what though? If your deck is based around using
yeah.
like Nisei or Labyrinthine
It's not a bad one.
I
That's
mean,
the thing.
No, it's not bad at
Yeah.
all.
Just it gives you
And
another
there's-
option to build with.
And there's no negative to it like some of the others have.
All right, next up is Cortex Lock. This is a 2-cost, 4-strength Sentry AP. It's 2 influence, which means it's very much splashable, and it has 1 subroutine. Do 1 net damage for each unresed MU the runner has.
Unused.
Unused, that's what I said.
Said unresed.
Oh, unused MU the runner has. It's late. This is really good. A lot of people have been talking about this card as well from the corp side of this pack. This is a lot better than a lot of the other sentries that we've seen Jinteki get in a long time.
It's strength 4.
Exactly, and that's a really big thing.
2 res.
I know, it's 2
And-
cost to res.
Early game, this is 4 net damage to a runner, 5 if you're playing Kit, or not Kit, Chaos Theory. So, I mean,
Turn 1, this is a bad time.
yeah. So there's a lot of really good use out of this, and the cool part is you res it for 2. It lasts you to mid game, and then you probably just end up trashing it. But hey, it only cost you $2 to res, and you probably got a lot of work out of that one encounter with it. So
And honestly, when people are running things like Clot and some of the other viruses that get trashed when the corp purges virus counters, this all of a sudden might turn back on.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a good card.
It's fantastic.
And I like the cost, because if it was 3 or 4, I would be no call. I don't think it would be played at all.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
it's nice and cheap, and
I mean,
and
it
again,
stops you
it-
from blind checking servers.
and it gets out of mimic range.
Now, here's the interesting thing about this, though, is that a lot of people who play against Jinteki won't blind run servers without having at least like a fairy or something in play. The nice thing, though, is like you said, it is out of mimic range, so there is that one benefit is that you can't mimic. And maybe this means that Mimic starts to see less play in the game, or at the very least, you go down to 1 copy of Mimic and you have to put an adjustable Sentry Breaker into.
Yep.
So,
The Return of Ninja? No.
No.
Is people playing Femme Fatale and being willing to spend money? Yeah, more likely.
Fem or even the Rex, the one Cerberus one that breaks sentries. So
Oh, yeah.
the dogs.
The dog.
So,
Or the Central, whatever.
yeah.
Up next, we have Valley Grid. This is a 3-cost Jinteki upgrade. It is a region. It costs 2 influence. It has a trash cost of 3. It says, whenever the runner breaks all subroutines on a piece of ice protecting this server, his or her maximum hand size is reduced by 1 until the beginning of your next turn. Limit 1 region per server. This is pretty cool. You put this on one of your big servers that has 2 or 3 pieces of ice protecting it, like R&D or HQ, or maybe your scoring server. And on that run, when they make it through, if they get through all that ice, all of a sudden they're going to be down to like a 2-card hand size or Yeah, you can take them really far down if you have a deep server, which means they're losing cards at the end of their turn, and they're setting themselves up for, maybe some hurt on your turn.
What I like about this card is it's an incredible splash into Wayland and HB.
Yes.
Both factions that are very capable of doing damage to the runner, and this will be a shock. Like, you won't see this coming until you go make that res on that big-ass server when you played your Maker's Eye, and you're committed now.
And I think it's like a Chrysium grid or
Yeah,
something like that. All of a sudden
and-
you're like, no, it's Valley grid.
And now, okay, so do you waste your Maker's Eye because you break that first piece of ice and jack out? Or do you now committed, and you're going to come through 3 or 4 pieces of ice, because that's what HB and Wayland does, and now you better hope to God whatever you pull out of my deck doesn't kill you, or I don't have something in my hand to do the same.
Actually, I saw one deck online today that has me very intrigued. Runs this along with there's I don't even remember the name of it, unfortunately. There's an HB piece of ice that has a subroutine that kicks off, and when it goes, it reduces their hand size by 1. And Chairman Hero to take the corp or take the runner down to a 0-card hand size and kill them with either Neural EMP or other things we're going to see later in this
Yeah, the new
pack.
Kentucky idea.
If you can start your turn with the runner with no cards in their hand, it's like Christmas.
Yeah,
True.
I mean,
Jinteki, if you're playing core set Jinteki, you can just score an agenda at that point.
I mean, worst case is, if you're playing this in Jinteki, a lot of players in Jinteki will run on click 2, click 3 with a full hand, or they've overdrawn because they don't want to have to deal with the net damage and get flatline. Now, all of a sudden, if you had to go down to like a 2 or a 1-card hand size, you have to discard all that crap now. And so all those economy that's in your hand, all those programs that you needed, all those run events, gone. Have a nice day. That's a really good card, and I like the 2 influence, because again, I think you're going to see this played in Wayland and HB quite a bit. Who's up next?
Bandwidth 0 to res, strength 5, code gate, 1 influence. Give the runner 1 tag. If this run is successful, the runner removes 1 tag. 0 to res, strength 5. It's good if you put it in front of the
information overload or the trap that loses
trap.
all your credits. Like, this card is so
good.
I expected it to, when you look at this, I'm like, oh, it looks like it's it should be a trap.
Yeah.
And it's not. It stays there.
It should be a trap, and it's definitely not a trap, and it's so good. Because we know that if NBN Fast Advance is going away, we know the other thing that NBN's very good at is punishing people for having tags.
Yep.
And they've already shown they're willing to give NBN stuff that is triggered mid-run for you running with tags. I can only imagine we're going to get more, and this is just a setup piece for that, too. So it's like...
This is NBN's chum,
Yeah.
is what this is.
Would this trigger the...
It would trash Rachel Beckman, yes.
No.
Oh.
The one that deal 2 damage.
DRT?
Yeah.
No, because
the runner will pick this
DRT is dealt damage at the end of the run. When this run is declared successful, you lose the tag.
Oh, okay.
So in the timing window, the
That's before
successful run happens
Okay.
before
I
the
didn't
end
know
of the
if DRT
run.
was always successful.
No, unfortunately not.
However,
But I mean,
this will get rid of Rachel Beckman.
it will.
Run.
I mean, you look at this, and there's so much. Like, if you hit this and you decide to keep going, and then you hit a Data Raven, are you really going to even consider running through the Data Raven now? Most people at that point are going to be like, I mean, they jack out of a Data Raven normally anyways, but now...
It depends if they're playing tag me or not.
Yeah.
Like, if they're okay with taking tags, they don't really care, and you're going to hammer them with whatever your trap is coming up next anyway.
Sure.
But
yeah, I mean, it's a good card. I mean, as long as we see more ice that punishes the runner for running with tags, it just gets better and
and
better.
the best thing is, like, this doesn't have the oh crap button that Data Raven does where you can dump out.
Yeah.
You take the tag, and if it happens to be you get to you have to get all the way through the run to get rid of that tag, or else if you jack out at some point, then you've got to actually spend a click in the credits to get rid of it.
And I mean, are you going to spend 6 credits to break this? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Do you really run the risk of floating that tag during the run, knowing well that they have the means to punish you, or do you spend 6 credits to break the damn code gate?
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's what makes it so awesome. It's
Yeah.
so hard to
Five
break it.
strength is just
amazing.
It's 0 cost.
Yep.
So
Yep. All right, next up is the new current for NBN. It's a 0 cost current, so it's not a 2, which is interesting. It's called Predictive Algorithm. It's 1 influence, has the same current text of being trashed, and it says, as an additional cost to steal an agenda, the runner must pay 2 credits. So if you're building a deck, and you have a couple extra influence left over, and you have a couple extra card slots, you can't figure out what you're going to put in, you put this card in.
Yeah, pretty much.
In fact, if you're building a deck, and
any deck.
at any deck, you should really look at this card and
At least
go,
2.
can I figure out a way to put this in my deck? This is really good.
It's the reason why it's 1 influence.
Yep.
I was almost arguing it's actually undercosted. I think it should have been a 2 credit current, but that's my opinion. Who cares? It's
who
really,
cares?
really good. It is really good.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I mean, 6 credits for an NAPD. Run this for Red Herrings, which is in faction.
Make
Now
it
you're
7.
paying 7 credits just to touch an agenda. I mean, that's really good. And NBN has a lot of ways of making you go broke. And that's really good.
And I like that since this pack hoses, fast advance.
Has 2 cards though. It's fast advance. Here's one that actually supports. That basically
protects those agendas for lasting one more turn.
It's kind of a counter to some of those other cards.
So yes, I can square on my hand, but now you have to pay more money to try to take it off.
But the cool thing about this is think about cards like Ash, for example. So Ash is interesting because I'm not a big fan of Ash because every time I play with him, I've never really gotten any value out of him, in my opinion. But he can be good if he's done right? Which means the corp has to have a lot of credits. They have to have more credits than the runner's willing to spend and everything else. Yep. But the cool thing about this, though, is say you have this in play and they run your server that has Ash. You res Ash, you dump every dollar you have into the Ash trace, and they still beat it.
They manage to match it.
But they only have 1 credit left or whatever, or 0 credits. Like, oh, I'm going to steal this. Nope, sorry. You don't have your 2 credits that you need to keep going. So, I mean, it's almost like an extra plus 2 credits on Ash.
This is like $2 left you don't have to spend for that.
Yeah. It works well with the Jinteki side game agendas, because now I have to spend 2 credits to steal it, but I still have to pass the side game first by probably spending credits to win the side game.
If I remember right, you would do the side game
before you had to. So I won the side game, but crap, now I don't have enough credits to steal. I mean, that's really cool. There are a lot of really good uses for this.
Yeah, and it's just mess ups the math.
Gagarin, I mean,
so here's an ice. I'm like, okay, he could break it, but let me res it because he's going to reduce him to below 2, and that way he can't steal it.
Exactly.
So it's a great card.
All right, up next we have Capital Investors, a.k.a. the Shark Tank. This is a 2-cost asset for Wayland. It has 2 influence costs. It says click gain 2 credits and has a trash cost of 2. Lots of 2s on this card.
Yep. And 2 influence. It's all 2s.
Great quote on it as well. Give a man money and he is rich for a day. Teach a man how to invest and he is rich for life. It's the magnum opus for the corp. It's trashable, which is the one thing the corp hates, but
you have to do it.
Yeah, but it's got to have a trash cost. It's got to have an asset. It'd be an asset.
Yeah, it's a good card.
It's good.
I played with it last night. We were talking about it earlier.
Yep.
It's cool because there's not a lot of times where I used it a lot, but there were turns where it's like, okay, well, I have nothing else to do. Let me click and gain $2
If you're going to be
or whatever.
clicking, you might as well be getting twice as many credits.
Exactly. Right? It's cheap to res, and the runners I played against, when I put a piece of ice in front of it, at that point they were like, look, do I want to spend 10 credits to get in there and trash this thing, or just let them take it? Now, the right answer is probably yes, in fact.
Always.
But again, if you're a runner, you look at your credit pool, do I spend every dollar I have? Because you generally hover around 10, 12 credits or whatever
to get in there and
stop him from clicking for 2, but he's already at 20 credits. Doesn't really matter at that point,
Yeah,
and that's where the real power in this is.
It's the same logic you run into with pad campaigns and the like, where it's, well, am I willing to commit all of my time, a click and the money to get in there to stop it, or do I just want to let them get money?
Yep. I think we start seeing Imp come back in a lot of decks that aren't Anarch. We've seen Kate decks running it already. Prepaid Kate's been switching over to using a lot of its influence to splash in imps and stuff like that now. I think a lot of factions need to take a hard look at getting rid of assets through some other means that's not spending credits.
Okay. Imp, Singularity. There are plenty of different ways to do it. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to spend your influence on it or not.
But, a lot of corps these days have transitioned away from eventing-based economy over to assets, so it's probably something really worth looking at.
Absolutely.
Yep. Very good card. I get
the worst card of the pack.
The worst card of the pack. Yep. Negotiator, 4 to res, 3 strength.
Yeah, I know.
Sentry Destroyer, 2 influence. The runner can pay 2 credits to break any subroutine on Negotiator. Corp gains 2, and the second one is Trash 1 Program.
If this had been strength 4, it'd be good.
If it was that the corp could spend 2 credits to break 1 subroutine on Negotiator, I think it'd be okay, because then it would at least pay you back.
I think the res cost and the strength should have been opposite.
Swapped.
Yeah, a 3/4 would have been interesting.
I think they should have put this art on a better card.
Yeah,
because it's a really cool picture of a big tank that is not negotiating. It's not negotiating at all.
And it's unfortunate because there was a lot of room for this to actually be really interesting, and I think if it was like a 3/4, or if they weren't subroutines, if it was simply 2 things that fired, like we've seen on Troll, for example, and your only option was to spend 2 credits to get rid of each one of them, that would be really cool. But instead, we get something that just dies the mimic, and that's unfortunate,
Or alternatively, the runner can just spend money through.
And maybe that's a topic for a different time, but I'm going to mention it now because we've glossed over it on a couple of other cards too. The fixed strength breakers. Do you think maybe they've kind of backed themselves into a corner with those now, though? Because everything you print that's at strength 3 just gets overlooked now because everybody's like, oh, it's yoggable, oh, it's mimicable, who cares?
Yeah.
And that's like a really hard design space now.
Barriers were different because Morningstar is so expensive, but it also wasn't from the core set.
Yeah. And so that's unfortunate, because maybe this would have been good if Mimic didn't exist, but it's like I spend 2 credits to get
I
through
think
this.
I think it's still bad being a breaker that one doesn't stop the runner. Like, so if I res this on turn 1 when the runner makes his run, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It probably gives me $2. Gives me my $2
Sure.
back, or 2 of my $4 back.
Yep.
But even if it's going to do something, the runner, even with like if the runner has like Magnum Opus in play, they can spend 2 to prevent it from being trashed.
Yeah. And they're using an Opus anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's just sad.
I mean, if you hit them when they're poor, maybe. I mean, but even then, they'll just...
There's
better ways to punish them when they're poor.
Yeah,
Have an archer.
Exactly. I said this or archer. It's no question.
Yeah.
This is you.
Tech Startup. One of my favorite cards, actually, from the pack. This is a 0-cost asset with 1 to trash, no influence. It says, when your turn begins, you may trash Tech Startup. If you do, search R&D for an asset, reveal it, and install it. Shuffle R&D. Don't worry, if this one fails, we can start a new one tomorrow. That's so great. This is really good.
That's so true.
There are so many assets that are vulnerable when you install them and you can't use them to the next turn. So you have... What? Toy Box, Melange, all those things. Business Show... Lots of the stuff that you want to
go back
see.
really far. You have the corporate equivalent to Armitage. I forget what it's called right now, but it's the one that starts with $14 on it. You can spend a click to take 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, all those cards you want to have them in play, but you need to have them at the start of your turn because in the case like Melange, for example, it takes your entire turn, so you can't actually do a lot with it. But this is cool because I can install this. In worst cases, you run, you break whatever ice is in front of it or whatever, you trash it. Oh well, I'm out 1 card. Best cases, though, I get to trash this at the beginning of my turn, go fetch that card, and now at least I get 1 turn of its benefit before you have a chance to do anything about it. And that's really cool.
And the cool thing with this is it doesn't have to be installed in the same place the Tech Startup was. So you can throw Tech Startup out there on its own, and all of a sudden you're installing into a good server, or start it in a good server and install to, like, if you're Jinteki and you grab, like, Sundew, you can just go throw it off to the side and welcome someone to come.
I mean, you can go grab Caprice, you can go grab...
asset. Caprice is up.
Oh, that's right. Ash is an upgrade too, huh?
Yeah.
Grids? I mean, there's a lot of cards you can go grab with this that are
Yeah, most of the grids are upgrades too.
I didn't really.
Yes.
I'll have to go back and take a look. Like
Still a good card.
Right, Jackson Howard.
Yes,
perfect
Jackson
example.
Howard, there you go.
You now have the equivalent of 6 Jackson Howards in your
the morning
deck.
talk show. I mean, you go grab
Daily
the morning,
business show.
Daily business show.
That's pretty
Capital
good.
investors. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna. I mean,
Shark Tank.
it's so good.
Yes, it's very good.
It's a tutor.
And it's free. Or it's free.
Yeah.
You just have to install it.
There's
No
downside
influence
to the card.
cost, none of that nonsense. And finally, we skipped this earlier, Jinteki Biotech, Life Imagined.
Yep.
This is our new Jinteki identity, and it's kind of special. It's a division, deck size 45, influence 15. Before taking your first turn, you may swap this card with any copy of Jinteki Biotech, and you can spend 3 clicks to flip your identity. And why would you do that? Yes, because each of the 3 copies that come with it are different.
Yep.
The Jinteki Biotech I have is the tank. The tank says, when you flip to this identity, shuffle archives into R&D. What do you have, Jesus?
I got the brewery. When you flip this identity, do 2 net damage.
And I have the greenhouse. When you flip this identity, place 4 advancement tokens on a card that can be advanced.
So each of these is the 3 different effects you can get from spending 3 clicks, which is usually your entire turn, especially in Jinteki. But your opponent doesn't know which of the 3 you've got, and you're allowed to change them at the start of the game, so you have an idea, like, if your opponent is running noise, for example, you probably go and get the tank.
Yep.
And they're going to guess that, but they don't know for sure.
They still have to play
They still
around
have to
it.
worry about taking 2 net damage on a turn. I think it's a fantastic new ID. It leads to all kinds of different ways to build.
New way to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, shuffle all your traps back in. I'm
It's a whole
gonna
new shell game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Which
biotic
corporation am
out.
I?
I'm gonna biotic out and use this to put a bunch of counters on my Ronin, then flip my Ronin and kill you. I mean,
You can use it if you're installing sideways. You installed a Nisei on the previous turn.
Yeah.
You can flip the greenhouse to fully score a Nisei in a turn.
it gives a new idea to the whole concept of never advance until you're ready. And
Yeah.
That's really cool. So I mean, I think it's interesting. I hope each faction gets the equivalent of something like this.
Yeah.
Whatever they may be. I hope it's not just limited to Jinteki because it is a cool mechanic and it would be
Jinteki
nice
only for life.
to see it kind of expand out. Will it be competitive? Who knows? But it's a very fun idea, and I like the
Certainly
fun
different,
ideas.
yeah.
So.
I think it'll stay in Jinteki because it looks like trickery.
Yeah, I
So-
can see where this doesn't go to all 4 of the factions.
But then it makes you wonder, though, what unique thing are the rest of the factions going to get this cycle, though, because they tend to be very fair about balancing everything out. So maybe Wayland doesn't get a flip ID, but needs to have something else that's kind of just as cool.
Competitive.
And NBN's getting a very competitive idea this
Yes.
cycle.
Yeah, they're getting. We already know what theirs is, Harpsichord
Harpsichord
Studios. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah, Angela's our spoiler master.
well, Harpsichord Studios has already been spoiled by FFG
Yeah,
too.
that was,
so.
that was in
I know,
one
but
of
you're always the one that
Yeah,
likes-
I mean, because I like knowing what's coming up,
Yeah.
you know, and it's cool because you get to see the design space and what they're thinking and stuff like that. So.
I like to too, but sometimes I don't because then I'll see it and I'm like, man, I don't want to play the game until get that card comes out.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's like
and that's
this.
one of the curses you have. The FFG seems to have taken to heart now that they don't do spoilers 6 to 8 months in advance of when the pack is going
Yep.
to come out anymore.
I
which is
appreciate that.
Very appreciated because it's frustrating when you're like, yes, brand new card I want to play that'll be out in 8 months.
Well, if you think about it, we're what 3 months away from Thrones 2.0, and they haven't posted a single article yet. I mean, that's pretty impressive for them. Like when Armada was announced. I mean, geez, that was a year ago, and they were just dropping spoilers like the day after it was announced.
Armada was
It was announced at Gen Con, wasn't it, last
Yeah,
year?
but that was August, so we're not even a year.
Well, yeah, but okay, 8 months. Still, they spoiled stuff like immediately after they made the announcement for Armada, and here we are, 3-4 months away from Thrones launching, and not a word. So that's really cool. I like that because
But they did. I think they say the same thing with Conquest. Didn't we see Conquest until?
we saw early Conquest
Really? I
spoilers.
thought it was like May.
I don't remember seeing. Honestly, I
June.
don't remember much about it. 'cause
I don't
wasn't
remember
looking
too.
at it closely.
But yeah, they're doing a good job.
No,
yeah,
yeah.
they're fantastic.
Boils down to good job.
So stay tuned, guys. We'll have the next pack coming up shortly. Hopefully, we get it in the next couple of weeks, and we'll have some brand new Shaper greatness for everybody. So,
Indeed.
and
Stay
Wow,
tuned
brain
for.
case. It's so freaky when you realize they're like plating your skull with metal.
Haley's gonna be
That
awesome.
picture is just
Haley is gonna be awesome.
Haley and her comments.
So stay tuned for next Mother Pack reviews. We should have hopefully Conquests in the next week or two.
By the way, this has been Tree, Jesus, and Angela
Yep.
because we didn't do introductions at the start.
That's true.
But,
You probably know who we are by now.
you might, just maybe.
So thank you for watching and see you guys later.
See you soon.
Have a good one.